I'm Anna,
I'm Jessica.
and this is the Paranoia Pair.
I had an energy drink before I came over because my
Mhm.
baby woke me up at 6:30, and then I'm topping it off with this soda because it tastes really good. McDonald's did a good job today.
They did.
It's crisp. So my episode today is on the Melon Heads. I heard about them once, I think on Believing the Bizarre podcast. I don't know if you're allowed to bring up other podcasts. Are you allowed to do that? That's not like a copyright thing.
No, it's not
Okay.
copyright.
Okay. I don't know how laws
They're
work
gonna sue us.
for bringing them up on our shitty podcast.
We actually need you to stop saying our name.
If you don't. So melon heads are an urban legend. I think they're like a cryptid. I don't know if they're considered a cryptid, but they're an urban legend. And they're actually kind of local to us. They have been claimed to be seen in Ohio, Michigan, and Connecticut. Most accounts say that they're about 3 feet tall with large bulbous heads, hence the name melon heads. They're pale. Their heads are hairless. Their bodies are frail and deformed, and they have a mouthful of razor sharp teeth. Some people say that they have glowing red eyes. Some people claim they're docile, and then others say they are very aggressive and dangerous. So there's a few accounts of the origin story of the Melonheads, and our first, because we're in Ohio, so we're going to start off with Ohio's. The first origin story takes place in Kirtland, Ohio, which is actually 3 hours away from us. And I thought, oh my God, maybe this summer we could take like a trip there and go look for Melonheads. And then I was like, that's a 6 hour trip there and back, and we're like 40. So like, we'd be sleepy. But anyways, it's in Kirtland, Ohio, which is a part of Lake County. One of the legends go that after World War II, the federal government tasked a man called Dr. Crow. The spelling can be different. Sometimes it's like Crow, Crowe, Crohe, and so on. But anyways, the government tasked a man called Dr. Crow to treat these children who suffered from a rare condition called hydrocephalus. I think that's how it's called. This condition caused large pockets of water to form in the children's heads. So Dr. Crow ran this institution and even donated his home in the woods of Chardon Township, which is near Winsner Road, which a lot of the stories in Ohio, or like the Kirkland ones, all take place at this road. Like there's specific roads that people claim to see these on.
Mhm.
He donated his home in the woods for the cause of, taking care of the kids. He took care of the children who were abandoned and ostracized due to their condition and their misshapen heads. He lived with them while studying them and trying to find a cure. Unfortunately, he died from natural causes before he was ever able to find a cure. So it's believed that the children just decided to remain there because they didn't really know what else to do. That's all they knew. And to this day, if you find your way back to the ruins of this old house, you might come across a melon head. Another version of this story is that Dr. Crow performed inhumane experiments on these children, like injecting chemicals and extra fluids into their cranial cavities, which caused the large bulbous heads. And then one day the children killed Dr. Crow and burned down the institution they lived in and ran into the woods. The Melonheads then that survived, they then grew up and became adults and then reproduced. And then those children ended up more deformed and kind of insane. In this version, it's said that the Melonheads hate humanity, which is kind of understandable with what Dr. Crow did to them.
Mhm.
And they only come out to attack or kidnap people. They're blamed for stealing livestock, pets, and even children, using them as a food source. And then there's another story of Dr. Crow, who was married to a sweet, kind woman who cared for and loved these children. But one night, while the couple was arguing, Mrs. Crow was killed, either an accident or on purpose. And then the children blamed Dr. Crow and they killed him and burned down his institution and ran into the woods. And this is for the Ohio version, the Kirktown version. And then there's a few like, blah blahs, like they seen it.
Mhm.
So, quote, I used to live by the woods on Winslow Road near the Ludgrain barn. When I was 10 years old, I had a brief encounter with a melonhead. It was an early autumn night around 10 p.m. when I heard my dog bark and I ran outside to see what was going on. When I went outside to see what the commotion was all about, I found my dog lying there bleeding. It looked towards the woods and I saw what I believed to be a small figure with very pale skin and a large head. When the creature saw me, it ran into the woods. I went out the next morning and followed the tracks, but they stopped near a creek, unquote. Um, a lot of these came from blogs. This next account was from a blogger, Alyssa Morrow, from quote, my aunt drove. Her friend Megan, my brothers, and their friend came along. We got lost in the area of Mitchell's Mill and Windsor, but we kept seeing shadows in the woods. And when we came along a black gate in the woods of Windsor Road, we all had that gut feeling, that kind of feeling that tells you you aren't about to be in a good situation. Well, my brothers and their friend thought it would be cool to make them not seem like sissies and to get out of the car. Well, they walked down the side road a little for a few moments, and my aunt and I got scared, so we bleeped the horn several times, and they ran back to the car, all diving in. They claimed that there was something that ran across the road. It suddenly got extremely foggy outside. Momentarily, my brother Keith realized he lost his phone while running back to the car. We were in no mood, and none of us had the courage to turn back. Unquote. I was also watching some YouTube videos of claimed footage. Terrible. I didn't see a single melon head in these videos.
Usually you don't. This kind of reminds me of like the feral children.
Another account is that, quote, I know all this sounds manufactured and sensational, and as I was growing up, even I brushed off this story as nothing more than a legend. In fact, I used to get mad at people who spread such ridiculous stories. While traveling down Chardon Windsor Road, I came face to face with one of these beasts, and I can tell you they're as real as it gets. The writer of this said that they got out of the car to use the restroom outside, quote, suddenly I heard the car start up and lurch into gear, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw it move backwards as the headlights came on. The headlights were pointed onto the woods, and through the foliage, I saw the silhouettes of 3 or 4 shadowy shapes lumbering around. One was already on the edge of the road, moving through the bushes and tall grass toward me. From what I could make out, it was no taller than 3 feet, and it had the biggest, most bulbous head I'd ever seen. It wasn't really running per se, as the equilibrium caused by its disproportion only allowed it to move at a limited speed. I couldn't really get a good look at the thing through the darkness and thick underbrush, but in a split second, I realized that it was the very childhood story I'd heard about. And these woods may be true. I really feared that if I didn't act fast, I would be attacked. Unquote. And then there was on this same article, there was there's a YouTuber. They had like a thing with a YouTuber, like they were questioning them or something. I don't know. In 2016, there was these brothers who investigate paranormal things, Jonathan and Michael Klein, and they went searching for them on Windsor Road to find any truth behind them. It was the dumbest fucking video I've ever seen in my life. They're like, oh, at the 2 minutes and like 24-second mark, they watchers claim to have seen something. So I was watching it and I was expecting, to like maybe see something stupid, like a blurry thing. They edited it, and I'm gonna make you watch this right now because so we can clearly tell that it's definitely not a
Very bad acting,
Yeah.
I will say.
I think it was edited. I think the melon head might have been edited into the video.
Maybe.
I'm no
Who
expert.
knows?
I couldn't even actually sit down and watch the whole video because their yakking was too much.
It's giving Zach Baggins.
I know. This
Also-
is why people don't take quote unquote in like paranormal investigators serious, is because of fucking people like this and Zach Baggins.
Is it Baggins or is it Bagans? Because I've heard it pronounced both ways.
I think it's Baggins, but I don't care. I hate him.
Should we take a field trip to that house that he bought in Gary, Indiana?
I'm
That's
actually
supposed to be like haunted.
Is that the one he made the documentary over? I was too scared. I was too scared to watch it because it said that this movie is cursed. And I was like, but what if it is? So I was too scared to watch it.
Yeah, it's like supposedly has like a portal to hell in it.
The movie or the house?
The house.
It would be cool if we went to the Gary, Indiana and looked at the house, at least like a quick drive-by with some holy water.
We drive like 7 hours.
Woo!
Oh, guys.
Okay, let's go home. That would be the extent of my searching. It would be cool, as much as I hate him, to go to his haunted museum. He's got the Devil's Rocking Chair. Oh, he's got Peggy the Doll. The Diabuk Box, which is known as the most haunted object in the world. It's been claimed to have been responsible for multiple deaths, a stroke, and Cursing famed musician Post Malone. I didn't know he was cursed.
I mean, he's doing pretty well for being cursed.
Yeah, he seems like he
like
made a country album.
He just had those Oreos.
I don't know what the curse is, but okay, so he does have Peggy the doll, which is touted as one of the most haunted dolls in the world. Peggy has caused countless nosebleeds, fainting, and even a heart attack. Guests are warned beforehand against looking her directly in the eyes. I looked at her eyes 3 times in this picture.
Jessica, no.
I'm backing out of it. So anyways, that was the encounters of the Kirtland, Ohio one.
Mm-hmm.
Just over 5 hours away from Kirtland, Ohio is the Holland, Saugatuck, Michigan area. And there comes more stories of the Melon Heads. In this version, the children are suffering from hydrocephalus, were living in a hospital, but then the hospital was forced to close. The children were just simply released into the woods to fend for themselves.
That seems like a very, like, back in the day thing to do.
There's another theory is the radioactive Melon Heads. And this version of the Melon Head story was shared by a Michigan resident. Quote, "This legend has made its way to my neck of the woods too. A little different though. In southwest Michigan, the Melon Heads are said to be located behind the Cook nuclear plant in Bridgman. There are 2 different stories of how they got to be there. Okay, the other story says that there was a group of people who lived behind the plant in the woods. After exposure to the radiation, they began to have swelling of the brain, and out of embarrassment and shame, they stayed in the woods to be left alone by the public to live their lives. The nuclear plant and all surrounding property have been closed off to the public since the 9/11 attacks, but you used to be able to drive back into the woods and explore. It was a big pastime for teenagers to scare the bejeebus out of themselves and their dates. I have been told that the whole area back there is like a maze, and unless you know the area well, it is very easy to get lost in. I suppose that just adds to the scare factor. So I would say that the Melon Heads from my area are just urban legend, but it always makes for interesting conversation, especially when talking with those who have been there and claim to have seen one." Unquote. Another submission is, quote, "Last year, me and some of my friends at Hope College decided we wanted to go to Allegan County Woods in Hamilton in search of the Melon Heads. On our first night there, we went back on a path for about a mile and came to an opening where there seemed to be a foundation of a building still there, but the building was gone. On the wall, back to the opening, there was a sign hanging over the path, but it was too faded to make out the wording. On the first night, we did not experience anything too out of the ordinary that we didn't think we couldn't explain by animals or other sorts. We went back the next night and it was raining mixed with some lightning. Me and 2 other guys were leading the group down the path, and about a half mile into our walk, there was a lightning flash, and all 3 of us saw the exact same figure of a human about 4.5 feet tall with an abnormally large head standing in the middle of a clearing that we had gone to the night before. We 3 kind of slowed down for a minute, and the next thing we knew, we heard a huge crash in the woods to the left of us. We immediately turned and ran back to our cars." Unquote. You know, they're probably just like normal people with like slightly larger heads or something. They're probably not mean. They're probably not 3 foot tall, and they're probably like not. We're just making fun of them and made them into a cryptid. Now heading over to the scariest state in this triage is Connecticut. There are claims that you can find the Melon Heads in Milford or Shelton, and on the outskirts of Monroe, Stratford, Seymour, Weston, Easton, Oxford, Southbury, Fairfield, New Haven, and Trumbull. So basically all of Connecticut. I can't imagine there's many more towns than that. The Melonhead story started around the time World War II ended and people were moving from cities to rural areas. So some people say that it's like they started because these city folk were coming into the outskirts and seeing all these weird country folk or woodsy folk, and they're like, "Oh my God, what are those?"
Other humans.
Why are they so gangly? They're pale. But one of the origin stories from the Connecticut Melonheads is that there was a family that was accused of witchcraft, and they were exiled to the wilderness where they began inbreeding to the point of mutating and becoming Melonheads. Another theory is that the Melonheads escaped from a now abandoned Fairfield Hill Hospital or Garner Correctional Institute, and that the escape turned to cannibalism, which caused their heads to swell. And the final theory is that the term melon heads might actually come from the name melon gyan, which was a group of people with mixed heritage of Native Americans, freed slaves, and European outcasts that just kept to themselves. Seems kind of rude. There's a story that, quote, a group of girls from Notre Dame High School in Fairfield decided to drive around after a Friday night football game. They piled into a blue Granada and ended up on Velvet Street in Trumbull, where they looked for the Melon Heads. The girls parked the car, leaving the headlights on, and ventured into the woods. After they'd walked a couple hundred feet, they heard the car door slam. Then the engine started and the car headed toward them. They could see figures inside, the sizes of children. They had large heads, rags for clothes, and an orange glow in their eyes, unquote. And the car still mysteriously. It literally said that the car was never found and that they're still just driving around in this blue Granada.
Oh my God.
The Melon Heads have made wheels.
I hope their parents got like insurance money for their car.
Because they lost their whip.
Can you imagine having to walk all the way back home?
I know, because, I mean, I don't know where Velvet Street and Trumbull is, but...
Dad, you're never gonna believe this. But
Yeah,
these guys with really big heads.
These children with enormous bulbous heads drove off with the car. And like really they accidentally like forgot to put it in park and it like drove into a lake or something. And they were like, what's the most believable story we can come up with? And then there's other stories of workers paving the Sawmill Road in Shelton claimed to have heard voices in the woods. A group of tree experts went to check some trees for a fungal infection, and they believed to have been seeing figures hiding in the underbrush, which that has happened to me before. So the story doesn't just end there.
It doesn't? There's more?
There's a little more. The stories of the Melon Heads don't just begin and end in the US. Supposedly, there was a family of Melon Heads that lived in Bavaria, Germany in the 1800s. And also, there was a family known as Weeble Heads.
Weeble Heads?
I find that very offensive because I don't know what a Weeble is. There was a family of Weeble Heads who were said to be inbreds that lived outside of Risbury, England in the 1900s. Wasn't everybody... Never mind.
You can say it. Listen, I'm sure our UK listeners will find this as funny as we do.
Wasn't everybody inbred in the 1900s in England? The kings and queens were.
Yeah. Isn't Charles and Camilla related? And aren't they fucking and sucking each other?
Distantly related. They're ninth cousins once removed.
Even to this day, England cannot help themselves.
It's all right. Neither can Americans. You've heard of the South. You ninth cousin lovers. I would love to go to England.
For the cousins, though.
I was just trying to say something nice.
You cousin lovers. I'd love to go to England.
I gotta stop talking. When I think I say something weird, then I babble more and then I make it weird. I don't like my cousins.
We can't invite Jessica over for dinner anymore.
She's weird with the cousins. British people, if it makes you feel any better, it's so common here.
Apparently West Virginia has like that whole family that was like inbred or something like that, right?
Was it the Blue family?
No, I think that was just the people that took colloidal silver and they turned blue. But there is a family who, actually, maybe you're right. There is one person who's still alive. I think actually it's a family, but there was one person, his name was Mark, and he was like helping them out like money wise, and he would like make videos with them, and like he had a GoFundMe, and he would send them money so that they could afford to live and stuff. But I think the family was like taking advantage of it, so he had to stop.
I feel like I sort of know, like, I've heard of something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Where like the kids were so inbred that they weren't like mentally aware. So like the town, like the city or like town near them, like was taking care of them and like trying to protect them from other people because like people would be obviously mean to them about it.
I wonder if they have any movies.
They don't have any YouTube videos, I'll tell you that. I was trying to, because I like to watch like something first, and they didn't have shit. They did have like a news channel that covered the Melon Heads, but it was like a 2-minute video.
There is a Melon Heads. It's called The Melon Heads. It came out in 2011.
How cheesy does it look?
It's got 6.4 stars out of 10. Brian Clark is a researcher looking into the truth of Allegan, Michigan's local Melon Head legend, pairing up with a local man, Joe Dobbs, and the two attempt to track down the monster.
Oh, they're working on there's going to be another one.
Is it the one that says House of Crow?
Yeah. Is that the one you just read?
No.
Well, actually, I think it would already be out because it says 2024.
I think this one's actually just like a horror movie.
Ooh.
One of the reviews says, they tried, and well, it's okay.
This is the melon head in the movie.
Oh.
I mean, I'd shit myself if I seen that in my window.
Thanks for listening.
If you enjoy this episode, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook at Paranoia Pair Pod, all one word, and we will see you next Friday.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.